I wasn't never afraid of their rejection, um, and definitely not of their criticism. Although I noticed that people didn't get my response to criticism, neither did they get my method of going deeper into whatever it is that they're sharing. And my questioning was not criticizing. It was just me being really interested. And that's something that's always been really obvious, is that no one is truly as interested in other people as I am always interested in other people. And so I do not fear the rejection. That's not why I don't socialize. I don't know why I don't socialize at this point. I just know that there's this constant obligation to be something to people. Anything but yourself. And it's never good. And the only thing that makes that so strange is the fact that you yourself don't expect anything from people. You don't need them to be a certain way. You know that everyone's different. You know that everyone has vastly different experiences. And you know that everyone has been wronged and pained and has suffered. You know that it's hard to be human. So I don't expect anyone to be anything. And the thing is that they don't expect me to expect them to be anything. Yet they're so judgmental. That's just something that I've observed. They were just so unhappy with whoever you are. And I want them to be happy. That's the strange thing, is that I I think maybe I only accept myself if I were to be able to make everyone happy. And I don't know how to do that. And we all know that that's just not possible. You can't actually make everyone happy. And most people you come across, they don't know you, and they don't need to know you, and you don't need to know them. There's no reason why our happiness should depend on each other. And it takes me to this thing that I just grabbed hold of for so long, is that I was under the impression that everyone was very hurt, just like I am. I was under the impression that everyone needed healing. And maybe that's true, but that's not my job. That's not my concern. I can't possibly uh, know what to do, especially when I just am worrying. You're of no help to anyone ever, and that's not your job anyway. You're of no help when you're worrying. You're of no help, and you're of no substance when you've completely dissociated. And I've dissociated many times in social interactions, but it's usually when I'm with people that um, I sort of view as more actualized and um, comfortable. If there's people who are younger than me, I don't feel as much of this stress. Um, I usually don't. It's definitely like peers and people that I somehow think that I'm supposed to be able to feel understood by. So, yeah. And when you know, isolation and being alone has just sort of come about on its own through all of all the things. It's just a normal state of being, and you're not aware of how little your world becomes. You think that your inner world is just the most vast, pure thing that no one can touch, no one can hurt, no one can own. Um, and you know, if you ever read anything about like any mental illness or disorder, and it's like these things about it comes to this um, what do you say? What can come about is that this person will isolate themselves completely, will stop going to school, will stop meeting up with friends, will stop communicating with friends, will stop, will not, will be out of a job, will not be looking for a job, uh, and they need help before it gets to that point. And it never really says anything about like if it's already at that point, and that you somehow feel like it should be completely possible for me to do this on my own, for me to become the best version of myself and rid myself of all of my beliefs and all of these things that keep holding me back, and just do it. Just get into myself. And that's really what I found to be uh, sort of the issue always. That I think it's possible that what's always been the issue is this spiritual search, this search for self, and not really somehow feeling like you're more authentic for being able to dive into your inner world and not feeling the need to put on personas. And in fact, I forgot how to put on personas. I'm just really just so filled with worry when I'm out, that whatever your needs are, whatever your boundaries are, your interests, your likes, your dislikes, your feelings, they're just gone. They're all gone. And it's strange because you don't feel like you're of any function either. You don't understand why you're there. You don't understand who you are and where you are and why you're there. And you lack purpose. And at times when I'm happy, it's this thing that I don't think many people could understand, how I get joy from the things I get joy from. But I think that's just very complex and personal for anyone anyway. Um, and then I suddenly become much more capable of things, I think. But it never lasts so long. Like I just get really hurt by feeling very alienated, feeling like there's no way I'm going to find people who will accept me. And, sometimes when I'm in those spaces, I sort of get this awareness of, well, do I really accept these people if I am under the impression that they will never accept me? Because maybe you are not aware, but certainly your body will be aware that you don't feel accepted by these people. You don't feel safe. You don't want to accept what makes you feel unsafe. And that is what will sort of, it makes this like loop. And then you get this conflict within yourself even more of, but I of course I accept them. Of course I accept them. And it, I go back to these issues of accepting people because we are all human, because we are connected, because we are all God, because at our very core, we are innocent and pure and we are light. And everyone's just really hurt. And I need to feel compassion with everyone. But when you've dissociated completely, your ability to empathize is also gone because, you know, your boundaries, who you are, your interests, your likes, your dislikes, your feelings, your actual emotional body, because your nervous system is responding so heavily. Like for me, um, my mouth gets dry. I can't eat. I can't swallow. I, my body hurts immensely, at certain spots. And I don't function, so I can't think properly. I definitely can't solve problems, just simple things, just do very, very simple things, like make a coffee becomes really hard, like just anything, typing something in, you're just so out of it. Um, so you're out of your emotional body, you're out of yourself, you're not going to be able to empathize with people, and you're not going to be able to actually be genuinely interested in what anyone is saying. You're not going to be able to relate to anything because you're like somewhat dead. And it's just not nice. The issue is that I just feel so forced to need to be able to be whatever I need to be accepted. But you understand that that's just you. You just need to accept yourself. But it just seems too simple. And sometimes you think that you've done that, and then you'll be in a situation and you'll dissociate again, and it will happen all over again. And you'll do stuff that you wouldn't have done if you were actually present, and you do anything, and at some point you start thinking that, I mean, you're being really self-destructive and you're not noticing, you're just not aware, there's no awareness. I felt like a black hole, like a black void, like, and not just meaning that I wasn't there and that I wasn't feeling any of it, but like I was sucking like the surroundings. I was becoming anything that was, thrown at me. That how my surroundings were judging me, and it was negative, which is why I say that it's a dark void. It's not just void, which is always dark. It's actually like really negative as well, and it's really painful when you are so in it that your body is not able to function, your brain is not able to function. Um, and you want to just be able to put your mind onto something positive. You want to be able to take yourself out of it and say, well, these are just words, these are just thoughts, these are just things that I do not have to identify with. I have things I care about. I have things that I would rather not had happen to me. And knowledge. I have memories. I have a history. I'm someone. I am alive, and I'm grateful to be alive. These sort of things we can turn our minds to, but not in this state. And honestly, I feel like this state can last a really long time, and it drains you, and generally, if you're someone who experiences this, I bet that you feel drained so much, even though you are most of the time in your comfort zone, and this issue of comfort zone is something that I can't quite wrap my head around either, because you just feel so uncomfortable anywhere with anything. It's really strange, and it comes down to, what was it? It comes down to like self-esteem. So if you were able to really pick at yourself and really sort of try to ground yourself and remind yourself, first of all, I think the best thing to start doing is your boundaries. But, you know, sometimes I just feel like, why do we need to be someone? Why do we need to, like, why at all do I need to prove anything? Like, this is obviously, all of this is just in order to be able to function in the society. So you need to know your boundaries because you don't want people to overstep them. You don't want yourself to overstep your boundaries. But these things, they're all things that you identify with and you have to in order to have a sense of self. And it's just so like, it, I mean, it seems that we then are making purpose out of these things that are really just there for us to be able to survive among this really kind of rigid and violent and mean and patriarchal way of living, and sometimes I think it's like it's maybe a genuine hormonal issue for me. I am just way way up in my head, always floating. Um, but even just talking about it now, I actually feel better about it because, you know, there, I exist, I live. There should be space for my values, for my beliefs. I don't think you should treat people that way. I don't think that we should feel like we need to be something. I feel like it's fine to not um, be conventional or to not chase the things that most of us chase. To not value money, for example. Um, like if I have a conversation about money with someone, I just find it so interesting. It's because it seems a lot of it seems to be about money, and people can't really unsee it. And I don't want to share. That's the thing. We should probably be able to take initiative to speak, to use our throat chakra, to speak our truths. But I just feel like it's sometimes so far off. I forgot like how if I want to sort of disembody and question and make people be more critical about things, is that if that's what my position is and what I'm supposed to do, I just feel wrong for doing that because it causes conflict. Obviously, people do not enjoy um, you trying to tear down their belief systems through just casual conversation. Like, I don't know how to, and the thing is that you don't know how to talk about your own belief systems because you don't really have them. You're not really as into them as someone who needs them teared down, and that's anyone's opinion. That's not to say that that is what is supposed to happen. Is genuinely how I feel, but I think I just got tired of this. I don't want to fight people. I just feel like that's more of the thing that I'm trying to rid the world of. I don't think it will heal anyone if I tear down their belief systems. I don't want to be a bad trip, and I always end up feeling like I'm a bad trip to people because of just just not being there and being just strange and not really having views and not really knowing how to behave because I don't know what you want me to be. Uh, and yeah, it just sort of puts you in, wow, into yourself. Like, you always have to decide what matters to you. You have to decide what matters to you. That's the Ubermensch. You have to decide your morality. And if that means that you decide that you do not want to share opinions, you don't want to show yourself, prove yourself as a person or persona, an image, a, an identity, an existence to anyone, if that's something that you just don't want to do, I think that is something that life, I think you have a right to that. I think that's something that life actually makes possible for us. I want to think that way anyway. But maybe that's a very privileged way of viewing things. But I think that is actually how we really become, and we can escape the hurt that has kept us down and claimed and controlled our lives through suffering. So I hope I actually feel better now. I'm gonna post this, like private it on YouTube.